Unique held items are incredibly interesting in the world of Pokemon. Of course, we've got things like the thick glove for Marowak that made it a competitive beast in Gen 2, and things like the stick that raised Farfetch'd's critical hit rate. But today I want to check in on a very special Pokemon with a held item, that is Light Ball Pikachu. Now, the simplest way to get the Light Ball back in the day was just to transfer your Pikachu from your Pokemon Yellow cartridge to the Gen 2 games, and it would automatically have that as a held item, essentially signifying the fact that since in Pokemon Yellow you were kind of role-playing as Ash Ketchum, and Ash Ketchum's Pikachu is significantly stronger than any other Pikachu in the lore, that Pikachu alone would have this incredibly powerful item that would boost its special attack stat to double its normal value. But this raises the question, just how strong is a Light Ball Pikachu in Gen 2? I mean, normally its base stats are 206th out of 251 Pokemon, so you would think that Pikachu wouldn't be very good. Yet it does have really good speed, and if we effectively double its special attack stat, we're talking about 100 base special attack at that point, and that could prove to be really strong as long as we have the right moves. Now, with that being said, it remains to be seen if the Light Ball actually turns Pikachu into an incredibly powerful Pokemon, or does it just kind of make this Pokemon mid? We're gonna have to get into it and find out. So as we step into Professor Elm's lab, usually we would be coming here to get a Gen 2 starter, but in this case, he's actually talked to Professor Oak and managed to get us the legendary Pikachu. Now, in order to have the toughest time possible, I am going to go up against the Bayleaf team with my Pikachu, but I still think we're gonna have a reasonable chance of getting through most of these fights. We'll just have to see though. Now, our Pikachu is, in general, a standard Pikachu. In fact, he's a fat Pikachu from Gen 1, but we have made a couple of adjustments to this one. Number one, because this is supposed to be the strongest possible Pikachu, we need one of its strongest possible moves from Gen 1, and that is Surf. Surf is a special move, so in theory, the Light Ball should increase the power of Surf as well as its electric type moves, giving us a good way to get through ground and steel type Pokemon. On top of that, we of course have the Light Ball giving us the ability to hit much harder with our special attacks. That makes me think that the first two gyms are basically going to be a joke, and we should at least be doing more damage with our special moves against the Bayleaf, so maybe we can actually get through Rival 2 pretty easily in this one. We are going to run on max DVs as well, since we're kind of role-playing as like a pseudo Ash's Pikachu here. I would argue that Ash's Pikachu is actually significantly stronger than this, but it's a reasonable approximation for the Gen 2 timeline. Now, it's worth noting that the Light Ball, at least as far as I can tell, is actually much weaker in this generation than it was later on, when it actually changed to also boost physical attacks from Pikachu, which at that point you could think of it as adding like 100 points to this Pokemon's base stat total, turning it into an absolute glass cannon. But here in Gen 2, it's only the special attack that is boosted, so that could still lead to some situations that are kind of tough. First up, well, we've got to get into our rival fight. Let's just go ahead and see how we do against this Chikorita. I think technically Surf is the stronger move here, so I'm just going to use it. It's still not doing huge amounts of damage, but it goes Growl against us. Good job. That's not going to affect our damage ranges at all here. It looks to be a 4-hit KO with Surf, and we do get through that first Chikorita, no problem. Now, I've discussed a lot on RBY Pokemon challenges why I consider Surf to be a legit move on Pikachu. It's the only move that was effectively a move tutor move in Gen 1, since you could get it through the Pokemon Stadium game on any Pikachu. So as we completely shock Professor Elm with the power of our Pikachu here, we're going to get our Pokeballs and move on in the game. I'm going to go through this as quick as possible. And it's just worth noting that this is basically a test run for the Gen 1 run that I'm working on right now, where I'm actually going to be modeling the actual Ash's Pikachu, which, as I mentioned, I think is significantly more powerful than this, and I think we have enough evidence to prove that it is. But this is an important data point to know how the Light Ball actually affected this Pokemon, because it could be that I'm dramatically overestimating how good this item actually is in the hands of a Pikachu. But I don't expect to have any issues here early on, so let's just make our way straight up to Falconer and hopefully just easily beat him. Now, as usual, we have to start off by taking on Honest Abe, but I don't expect him to be any challenge here since we resist Peck, so let's just get into this and easily destroy him. But let's see the power of Thundershock with this Light Ball. Here, we get pecked, but then we use Thundershock. A critical hit gets a one-hit KO on that Spearow. That might not matter whether or not we had the Light Ball or not, but still, it's nice to see. And we also easily one-shot Rod's Pokemon, so that's perfectly fine as well. I'm going to learn Thunder Wave over Growl with this, and then let's just go ahead and make our way into the Falconer fight. Now, it's important to note we will never have any held items other than this Light Ball in this run, so I'm not allowed to slap on a berry or a gold berry or anything. We gotta go with just this, so that could actually add some challenge here. But here against Falconer, I don't expect it to be any challenge. We go Thundershock on the Pidgey and just destroy it in a single hit. Out comes the Pidgeotto, we outspeed, we nearly one-shot it with a Thundershock, and then we knock it out on the next turn. So yeah. My precious birds, they get completely destroyed by Pikachu. If I recall correctly, Ash used his Pikachu against Falconer in the anime and knocked out at least a couple of his Pokemon. I think it was the Pidgeot where the Pikachu was just too tired and went down. But now I'm going to be running through the game as close to minimum battles as I possibly can. And this is also kind of important. You see, Ash is constantly chided by other people in the anime for not training his Pokemon enough, especially in the early seasons of the anime. So it kind of makes sense to run through the game at least as close as possible to minimum battles to represent the fact that Ash Ketchum didn't really like to train his Pokemon. It's in fact the reason why I'm going to demand that I beat the game on minimum battles in Gen 1. Here in Gen 2, I'm honestly just not sure if it's possible or not, but I have done a minimum battles Pikachu run on Gen 1 before, so I feel pretty confident doing it there. Here in Gen 2, if I have to be perfectly honest, even with this moveset, I get the feeling that around Clair, at the latest, we're going to hit a wall. That's my prediction. I would love to hear your predictions in the comments below, but it just seems to me that maybe we could be going for some like rollout spam there or headbutts there, but I just don't see a good way that we're actually going to get through at that point with just our Pikachu. For now though, we will come into the underground. Let's just beat up on these rockets, and Thundershock is looking super powerful. I guess the first one was a crit, but still we're doing massive damage to these opponents, so they don't look like they're going to be any major issue. So I'm just going to make my way straight to Bugsy. I do think Bugsy is the way to go rather than going up against Rival 2, just because that Bayleaf is a little bit scary. Here I get the chance to learn Quick Attack. I will learn this move over Tail Whip just to have a neutral move. I've also got Swift in the bag if I need it, and I probably will need it for that Bayleaf if I have to guess, but I'm going to try to go with special moves first just to see. And here we actually get our first reset against the Paris inside of Bugsy's gym. Still, I think this one is a winnable fight, and it turns out that Quick Attack isn't really that strong, and it seems like Surf is doing significantly more damage here. Like with Surf, this is an easy 4-hit KO. It misses a couple of poison powders this time, meaning that we easily get through. So really, the fact that I tried to go Quick Attack on my first attempt there was the reason why I lost. If I had just gone Surf the whole way, in spite of the fact that it's resisted, thanks to the Light Ball plus it being a high power move, we actually just do way more damage with Surf. So that's something to keep in mind for this entire run. There will be spots where it seems like using a neutrally effective move is better, but until you consider that we literally have about double the special attack compared to the attack stat, in which case resisted moves suddenly become really, really good. Anyway, we have made it to Bugsy, so let's just go ahead and try to take him down with our Pikachu. First up, of course, he's got the Metapod. We're going to go Surf on this Pokemon, nothing else to do. It survives, but this is an easy 2-hit KO. Out next comes the Kakuna. We go Surf. That is an easy 1-hitter. And now we've got the Scyther, and when it's super effective, Thundershock is going to be the stronger move. It starts to set up Fury Cutter, but we do over half with the first Thundershock and knock it out in the next hit. So we get to level 15 and learn Double Team. I know that people feel it's cheesy, but it is actually part of Ash's strategy in the anime. So I'm actually going to learn this over Thunder Wave. I think this gives us the best chance of getting through on minimum battles. I think there's a point though where it's not really going to matter and we're going to have to go with something else. But for now, we've already seen in the minimum battles series that this was the key to getting through rival number 2 on minimum battles. I don't think we need to set up all the double teams, but at least some of them in order order to get through that bay leaf. So rival 2, attempt number 1. I'm going to go for the double team first. He licks and paralyzes me, but that might not matter if we set up enough double team. Now he's using spite on double team. That's very intelligent of him, and we are just being paralyzed like a million turns. But here we've actually set everything up. I'm just going to go surf on the Ghastly here. That is a one-hit KO. Out comes the bay leaf. I'm going to stick with surf, especially now that it's used reflect, and we can see that surf did about 11 damage there. So this is going to be a 5-hit KO, but it misses the first razor leaf, misses a second razor leaf. Finally it hits and does decent damage, but if we can avoid one more razor leaf, we will get through that Pokemon. We get to level 16 as the Zubat comes out. It goes for bite and misses, and we use Thundershock and win. So yeah, just like the minimum battle series, we can see that basically going for the double team strat is the key to getting through the rival there, because his moves are not perfectly accurate, at least not the razor leaf that we're most worried about. Still, I'm going to try to keep the double team spam to a minimum and only in places where I think it's really logical. Otherwise, in general, I'm going to be going for moves that I think are a little bit more consistent. Now, the other thing worth noting is that I'm not going to be holding off on learning TMs whenever I think they're useful or necessary, because again, this is not part of the minimum battles series. This is just a run to see how strong Pikachu can be. So Thunder Punch is going to come in really quick here. I'm not going to go for things like Thunder because I'm only going to get those sorts of TMs if I can get them legitimately, but we will just experiment with strategies, trying to stay on minimum battles as much as possible and trying not to waste too much time, because I'm really hoping to take what I learned from this run to then do my Gen 1 run with quote-unquote Ash's Pikachu. Now here in the underground, we have good enough moves to get through. Normally these Magnemites would be kind of trolly, but we've got Surf and it's just going to completely destroy them. Even Voltorb gets one shot here. So yeah, the high special attack stat is definitely carrying us so far, though we can kind of see that our lower defense and HP are affecting things a bit. It's also worth noting that it seems they buffed the base stats of Pikachu in later generations as well, like even not the partner Pikachu in Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, but when I was looking at a stats comparison of the partner Pikachu versus a non-partner Pikachu in that generation, I was like, wait, why is Pikachu's HP so high? Why is its defense higher than I remember? And it's because they actually decided Pikachu was too weak and made it stronger. So we're gonna find out today if that was actually a mistake or not, because you know, mascot or not, Pikachu, he might actually just be the one. He's still alive in the minimum battle series, of course, though yet again we'll have to see how far that actually goes. We might end up in a situation where we need to go like dynamic punch in order to beat Jasmine together with double team on minimum battles. That could be the case, but that would be absolutely terrible. Oh, hopefully we're not going to have to go for something that ridiculous in this one. And before I forget, I am going to learn the move Thunder Punch over Thunder Shock here. It's just a clear moveset upgrade, and I want to make sure that I have the best moves that I can when I get to the Whitney battle. And just like that, we have made it to Whitney, so let's just see how she goes. She's of course going to lead off with her Clefairy, and I could set up some double team here, but I'm going to go Thunder Punch and just see how strong it is. This is going to be a 2-hit KO on the Clefairy. We get through with no damage. Out next comes the Miltank. It's faster than us, but we hit the first Thunder Punch. Its rollout is doing a ton of damage, but then we get a critical hit and just knock it out in 2 hits. It would have been a 3-hit KO otherwise, but it worked out. We managed to beat Whitney. One critical hit was good enough. A rollout miss would have been good enough. So yeah. Light Ball Pikachu, he's kind of cruising. Outside of one loss to that Paris, he's kind of good. Now, I'm not using my turbo button to speed up grinding in this one. I'm just playing the game at my normal sped up pace of about 4 to 5 times, I think it is. I'm running about 300 FPS, so that must be 5 times speed, which is what I do all the time, just because otherwise it's mind-numbing to play these old games. If there was one issue with the Game Boy, it was that it was so insanely slow to move around on the overworld. So I just do this for convenience, and because I also think it would be mind-numbing for you guys to watch me play at 1 time speed. The other factor is that technically we could go for more than just minimum battles and skip the Kimono Girls here since we already know the move Surf, but I'm going to take them on since they would normally be required trainers. You can argue with me about that in the comments, but we're treating this as my normal minimum battles route, just with the difference that Pikachu has the Light Ball and knows the move Surf. And while Pikachu could learn Slam here at level 20, we will skip learning this move. I don't think I want to forget anything on my moveset right now in order to learn Slam. And we're starting to see, even against the Kimono Girls, that we're not exactly like one-shotting everything. Like, we might get through this Vaporeon super easy, but the other Pokemon are actually surviving pretty well against our moves. So I don't think we're particularly overpowered at this point, in spite of the fact that the Light Ball is making our Pikachu a lot stronger. Still, we do manage to get through the Kimono Girls with no issue, and we can now progress in the game. And I'm going to try to take on rival number 3 right away, just to see. If I expect I probably will have to go to the lighthouse, but it's interesting just to try and see if I can get through without it. We already know that accuracy evasion strats don't work against Curse, so we're going to have to just go all in on attack, but this might still work. We just have to see. So attempt number 1 against the rival, we're going to go Thunder Punch on the Haunter. It does manage to curse us, however, so that's too bad. Magnemite comes out next. We're going for Surf right here. That is a one-hit KO. Bayleaf comes out, and at this point, Thunder Punch is going to be stronger than Surf, given the fact that it is a same type move and significantly more powerful than Thundershock was. So we're going to go Thunder Punch, and we can see that this is not doing very much damage. This is going to be a 4-hit KO on the Bayleaf. Now, of course, a critical hit would just one-shot there against the Haunter, but I'm not going to sit here and reset for that, at least not yet. I'm going to go down to the Lighthouse and just gain the couple levels that I can and see if the additional damage ranges that we get from that, especially since level 23 is another damage rounding threshold, that might just be enough to get through. So instead, we'll come see our doppelganger down here, and against this Pikachu, we Surf. So yeah, your Pikachu is not as strong as my Pikachu. Clearly, and I expect Jasmine's actually not going to be that hard in this one, since we're going to probably be able to take down the Magnemites with just Surf, and then Steelix, yet again, is going to be facing Surf strats. It might just not be able to stand up. So instead, we'll come see Jasmine and tell her that yes, we will go pick up some special secret potion for her, but that's just because she's going to need that potion when we get done with her, that's for sure. Probably famous last words. We're probably going to get completely crushed in that fight over and over again. But for now, we have made it to level 23, so let's go ahead and fight against our rival and just see how this fight actually goes. So rival 3, attempt number 2, now at a higher level. We're still going Thunder Punch here. We get the 1-hit KO on the Haunter. Now we can simply go Surf on the Magnemite, which completely destroys it, and we've made it to Bayleaf, this time with no curse on. So Thunder Punch, again, is going to do about a quarter. It did 17 damage there. It could be a range to get a 4-hit KO here. We do get poisoned, but then we paralyze the Bayleaf. We survive against the Razor Leaf and then knock it out. And we get to level 24 as Zubat comes out, and Thunder Punch is just going to one-shot that Pokemon. So the rival goes down on the first attempt when we come back. Just getting those extra couple levels did get us the ranges that we need in order to get through that fight. So we can talk to Eugene and tell him that his favorite Suicune ran away and he's going to run after it. And that leaves us the chance to go to the gym. Now I expect that Thunder Punch is going to be perfectly fine here. I mean, we've already done this fight in the Minimum Battle series. If a normal Pikachu can do it, I get the feeling that a Super Pikachu with the Light Ball can do it. So let's just get straight to Morty. And here at level 26, we get to learn the move Thunderbolt. I'm going to replace Thunder Punch with this move, since it is now our new strongest move and basically the best move we can get. Yes, I know Thunder's technically stronger, but it has lower accuracy, so I'm not sure we're going to want to learn that over the top of Thunderbolt here. We could always get it via TM later on if we absolutely need it, but for now, let's get into the Morty fight and see if we can just Thunderbolt our way through this entire battle. So Morty attempt number 1, out comes the Ghastly, we go Thunderbolt, that's an easy one-hit KO. Haunter is out next, we'll Thunderbolt on this one, that is a one-hitter. We've made it to the Gengar. Here I'm actually going to set up a double team just to reduce the accuracy of Hypnosis. and Thunderbolt is a 2-hitter, but it easily gets through that Pokemon, and now the final Haunter never stood a chance. We got to level 27 beating Morty, and he didn't do any damage to us whatsoever. Outside of Gengar, nothing could even survive a hit. So honestly, if he doesn't get you put to sleep, he's never going to beat you with a Pikachu. Kind of makes sense, but good to verify. So with that being done, I'm now going to make my way over to the Lake of Rage. I think this is the best routing through the game, just because we really want to go fight all these rando rockets first, I think, just to get a few extra levels before we go and take on the gauntlet of gym leaders that are coming up. In the minimum battles series, this is going to be my standard routing, I think, to come to the Lake of Rage first and do the rocket hideout. There might be a couple Pokemon for whom that's not actually the best routing, but in general, I think this is the way to make the game as smooth as possible. Now, I am still going to pick up things like TMs just so that I can sell them for money, even if they're not usable TMs. And it all just comes down to the fact that I don't know if I'm gonna need something like Thunder later on in the run, so I'd like to have the money available in order to get it if I really do need it. That being said, I imagine a few major walls for Pikachu as we go through this run. I've already mentioned Clair. I also think Will could be a major issue for Pikachu, given that he has that Exeggutor that could be pretty tanky and we're not really going to have a good answer for. The same is kind of true for Karen with her Umbreon and her Vileplume, so we'll just kind of have to see how that works out. Now, I want to catch this red Gyarados, so I'm actually going to try to damage it a little bit, and we didn't do nearly enough damage, but now we've just got to start chucking Pokeballs to try to get this one, and we miss with all of our Pokeballs. We do get it on the next attempt though Pikachu did go down, so yeah, Gyarados turns out still kind of tough against a Pikachu. Still, we do manage to get through. We can now make our way into the rocket hideout and hopefully get through quickly, and Lance is going to be seeing the power of our Pikachu here so that he can prepare accordingly at the end. I know he's all flying types in this version, but still, there will be some neutral damage, so he could turn out to be pretty tough. For now though, I think we make it through all of these rockets nice and easy. I'll just mention any that are actually interesting, but otherwise, let's just skip straight ahead to the executives at the end. So here, sure enough, we make it to the very end of this section without any issues, so we can come and fight the last rocket executive. She's going to lead off with her Arbok. It's level 23. We're 6 levels higher. We go Thunderbolt and one-shot there. Gloom comes out next, and Thunderbolt is still technically our strongest move, and it does over half. We get Sleep Powdered here, which is not ideal, and now she's dropping acid, but once we wake up, we destroy that Pokemon. We get to level 30, and Murkrow never stood a chance. So we get through the final executive with literally no issues, just spamming Thunderbolt. Even Gloom wasn't actually that tough to get through. So now against these Electrodes, I'm actually going to put out different Pokemon and try to just get them to self-destruct against me, so I might take a few resets here. I just don't want to gain any experience against these, so we stay on technically minimum battles. And sure enough, they go boom against all of our other Pokemon, so Pikachu didn't have to gain any experience there, and we are able to move on. And just because of the way that my overlay is set up, Kenya the Spearow is now renamed Fat Pikachu, so yeah, it's revenge for the fact that Spearow tried to kill Pikachu in the anime. But now with that done, I think we can technically try to take on Price here, because 2 of his Pokemon are water types, which we have a super effective move against, and 1 of his Pokemon, the Piloswine, is a ground type, meaning it's weak to Surf. So I think we have a decent chance of getting through here, but let's just test this one out. And by the way, the overlay shows one optional battle. That's because I ran into a trainer. I actually reset to avoid fighting that trainer. So there's not actually an optional battle on this one. That is just because I don't have a way in this overlay to take it off very easily. So yeah, ignore that minus 0.25. So with that, Price attempt number 1, he's going to lead off with his Seal, of course. Let's just see how we do with Thunderbolt. It is an easy one-hit KO. He sends out Piloswine next because he knows the Dugong's going to get destroyed, so we go Surf on the Piloswine, and that is a one-hit KO as well. That brings out the Dugong, we go Thunderbolt, one-shot it, and just like that, we have defeated Price. He had no chance against our Light Ball Pikachu. And now that Price is done, I think it's time to just make our way back over to Cianwood, but I actually think I'm going to take on Jasmine before Chuck in this one. Just again, because I think I have a reasonable strategy for getting through her. It might turn out that it just doesn't work though. And in that case, we might have to think about different routing to go and fight Chuck instead, but I think this is going to work out. So I'm going to avoid all the optional trainers on the way down south to Cianwood because I don't think we need any additional experience at this point, and I think we're going to be just fine. So just for simplicity, I'm going to heal here in Cianwood though and get this secret potion. Then we will run back up to Olivine and not heal before we go and take on Jasmine. Now it's also worth noting that in any sort of speed run, I think you'd ideally want to go and fight against Chuck first so that you could get access to Fly. You cannot get Fly until after you have beaten Chuck, and then his wife will give you the HM, and it's significantly faster technically to go Chuck, Jasmine, then the Rocket Hideout in price, just because you wouldn't have to walk as much, you could fly. So if you were actually doing a true speedrun, ideally you would go to Cianwood first and then try to take on Jasmine. Still, we have chosen this routing because I think it makes the most sense. Let's go try our hand at what is usually one of the toughest Gen 2 trainers, but the Steelix might not be able to stand up to our Surf. We'll just have to see. So Jasmine attempt number 1, I'm just going to go for Surf on the first Magnemite. That is a one-hit KO. We go for Surf on the second Magnemite. We also get a one-hitter, and that brings out the Steelix. It is a ground type, so it's weak to Surf, and we nearly one-hit KO it. She's going to go for a Hyper Potion. That will not matter. We are faster, so we simply knock it out in 2 hits, and we have defeated Jasmine easily on the first attempt. In spite of the fact that our defense is really kind of weak, doesn't matter. We do manage to get through. So we'll just take a quick little heal right here inside of the Cianwood Pokemon Center, and I was just appreciating earlier that we have this nice little Surfing Pikachu sprite just like in Gen 1. So clearly Surfing Pikachu was legit at this point. Come on, people always want to complain that I shouldn't have a Surfing Pikachu, but that sprite has to be easily one of the best overworld sprites in the game, period. So we're going to take advantage of that every time that we surf in this one. But for now, let's get into the gym here in Cianwood and see if we can beat these trainers. The Hitmons do have higher special defense, so in theory, they could actually be tough here. We're going to go Thunderbolt on the Hitmonlee. We paralyze it, but it's not quite a one-hit KO. We knock it out in the next turn, however. That brings us to the trainer that has the Hitmonchan. We're going to stick with the Thunderbolt here. Again, it's not a one-hitter, but he goes Thunder Punch. Good job. So we easily get through on the first attempt at that fight. I think the other trainers are then pretty trivial in this section, so we'll make our way straight to Chucky Boy and just see if we can manage to win. Now, we can learn agility via level up. I just don't see a situation where we're ever going to be slower than anything. Like, we're already running on max DVs, and like, what is faster than a Pikachu that we have to take on in the even near-ish future? I mean, it could theoretically, I guess, help us because we're going to be at a lower level than Red's Pikachu, but outside of that, I just don't see a situation where this is going to be better than Double Team on our moveset. So we have made it to Chuck, and it's time to just see if Thunderbolt is enough for this fight, and do we one-shot his Poliwrath. First up, we've got the Primeape. We go Thunderbolt. That is a one-hit KO. Out comes the Poliwrath. Thunderbolt gets the one-hitter as well, so we easily get through that fight on the first attempt. Not even hard. It could be that the Light Ball made those one-hit KO ranges, but hey, that's perfectly fine by me. We have managed to progress to this point in the game, at least, on minimum battles with Light Ball Pikachu. Still, I think when we get to this point in the actual minimum battles series, Pikachu is actually going to struggle quite a bit more against Jasmine in particular. I'm really questioning if there's actually a good way to get through that fight, but for now, we'll just take the fact that we've got this. Now, one other note, I'm terribly bad at routing in the dark, so I am going to use this Gyarados that I've picked up in order to just go quickly make my way through the Sprout Tower so I can get access to the Flash HM so that we can get through some important parts of the game later on. I do it this way so that I don't have to gain XP with my Pikachu, so now Gyarados is also going to be named Fat Pikachu in honor of our legendary Pokemon. And apparently our rival is still here beating up on the Sage. He just came back all this way. He's like, I have to beat up this guy. There is a point if you come back here after the Elite Four that you will no longer see the rival. But for now, apparently he still wanted to come here and just let this guy know who's boss. But with that, it's time to put the actual fat Pikachu back into the top of our party and make our way back to Goldenrod, where we have to deal with the Rocket storyline. This is just going to be tedious, I think. I think we're going to get through it just fine, given the fact that we're a fat Pikachu, so we're super overpowered. But who knows? Maybe, just maybe, one of these Rockets proves to be really hard, or maybe the rival 4 fight turns out to be difficult. We'll just have to see, but I'm going to try to get through this section as quickly as possible. And now I had to take an additional reset because I accidentally ran into this spinner right here. He is not a random spinner, but a set spinner, so he always rotates at the same pace. So you have to skip him by just getting through him like that. But he caught me on the first one, so I had to reset and go all the way back to Chuck in order to get through. So again, times are a little bit iffy on this one, but still, we're only at about an hour into this one. I think we're doing fine. It's also worth noting that most opponents at this point are simply one-shot by either Thunderbolt or Surf. We can usually use Surf on weaker Pokemon and Thunderbolt on stronger Pokemon, but we just need to have enough PP to get through all these fights. The executive at the top of the tower, for example, I think because he's got slightly higher level Pokemon, I'll just go for the Thunderbolt, but we can see that we're getting one-hitters on all of these coughings. The only question is really the wheezing that comes out fourth, but that is also a one-hit KO with our Thunderbolt, so we easily get through this fight, and we can make our way now to the underground, where Rival 4 is waiting for us, and that could be our first actual challenge in this one. So this is a spot that definitely warrants a save. Let's get into the Rival 4 fight and see how it goes. So Rival 4 attempt number 1, he leads off with Golbat. We're just going Thunderbolt on that Pokemon, nice and easy. Magnemite comes out second. We will simply go Surf and get the one-hitter there as well. Haunter comes out. I'm going Thunderbolt, and we get the one-hit KO, so no curse in this one. Out comes Sneasel, nothing super effective here, so we'll just go Thunderbolt. That brings out the final Meganium, where Thunderbolt's technically our strongest move. We get a critical hit that does about 2/3. He body slams, but then we simply knock him out on the next hit, so the rival really never stood a chance. And just like that, we can just continue on this section. I don't expect any of these rando rockets down here to be anything, so let's make our way to the executives at the top of the tower. Now, we could learn Thunder here at level 41, and I'm actually going to learn this over Quick Attack. We haven't really used Quick Attack much. I mean, like once here and there just to KO an opponent on low HP, but Thunder is technically our strongest move and could, at least in theory, take a fight that is borderline impossible and make it possible. So we're just gonna, have that there for some YOLO strats. I mean, we could be going double team plus Thunder on some fight in order to try to get through. Not ideal by any means, but it might be the strategy that works in a really tough spot. I'm especially worried about the Kingdra that's coming up on Clair's team, since we won't have any super effectiveness there, just neutrally effective moves. And those 3 Dragonairs before the Kingdra are going to be really tough to get through, I think, especially because we don't have the option of putting on a paralyzed Cure Berry. But here we have made it to the top of the tower with no issues so far. We can take on this executive first. I think she's kind of interesting because I believe she has a Vileplume on her team, which means we've got a Pokemon here that we don't have any good moves against. We still do half damage with Thunderbolt though, so this is enough to just take her down in 2, and Murkrow never stood a chance in this fight. We simply destroy it. Now I think Thunderbolt's going to be enough for the Houndour and Houndoom. Let's just see. Now Houndour's out first. I'm actually going to go Surf since it's super effective here, and that does score a nice one-hit KO. We'll go Thunderbolt on the Coughing, and then, yeah, technically Surf is the stronger move, so we'll just go for Surf here, and that is a one-hit KO. So we have completed this whole Rocket section. Nothing was ever hard there. I only reset because I ran into an optional trainer and I didn't want to take the battle. So you could easily knock a couple of these resets on this run off because they weren't actually legit. So with that done, we're now going to make our way to Blackthorn. I'm going to avoid all the trainers on this route as we go, and it's time just to see if we can actually manage to beat Clair on minimum battles with our Light Ball Pikachu. So here we are in Clair's gym, and at least against the little Dratinis, Thunderbolt is enough to get through, but we might need some crits on some Dragonairs if I have to guess. I don't think Seadra is going to be an issue here. It's just going to really be Clair herself and maybe that last trainer just before Clair. Here we do get our first look at a Dragonair, and I'm just going to see what the range is with Thunderbolt. This is a 2-hit KO on this Pokemon. So yeah, we're going to need to get significantly better than that if we're going to get through Clair herself. Thunder might be the play here. I'm going to test this out a little bit, but we may need to use some double teams in this one, but let's get into the Clair fight and find out. So first up against Clair, I'm going to go all in on attack. Let's see what Thunder does if it hits the Dragonair. It is not a 1-hit KO, it's a 2-hitter. This first Dragonair goes Surf though, so we get to knock it out on the next turn. Now that I know that Thunder is not a 1-hit KO, I'm just going to go for Thunderbolt because it's going to be a 2-hitter on these. We get a nice Thunder Wave miss there. That brings out the next Dragonair. We do over half, it goes Ice Beam, but we get to knock it out the next turn. Out comes Kingdra. Let's see what the range with Thunderbolt is here. It does well over half. We get knocked out by Surf, however. Still, that range makes me wonder if Thunder would have been a 1-hitter. So I'm going to try this one again. Let's just see if we can get through Clair on the second attempt. So I'm going to just go all in on the Thunderbolts here on the Dragonairs. And we do get paralyzed in this one, so we're going to need a little bit of luck to get through, I think. Definitely not ideal. I think the third Dragonair simply knocks us out because we were on such low health. So we are going to need to not get paralyzed in this one if we're going to get through, and the answer for that, of course, is double team. Because then even if we do get paralyzed, we at least have a chance to dodge some moves. And it's not ideal, it's not the way we want to win this fight, but it is probably the best strategy at this point, especially when we're on low health. But we still get knocked out because Gen 2 evasion strats aren't really that good. Still, I think setting up like 2 double teams kind of makes sense, and then just going all in on attack and hoping that we get 1 or 2 misses throughout the run. Especially this Dragonair going for Slam has a pretty decent chance to miss now. We do knock it out. We get Ice Beamed by the third Dragonair though, and we simply go down. Still, we could also get through with critical hits here, so I'm not quite ready to give up on minimum battles just yet. This time we critical hit the first Dragonair, so we get through with no paralysis there. We dodge the Thunder Wave from the second Dragonair. That brings us to the third Dragonair. It misses Thunder Wave as well, so we got 2 Thunder Wave misses. That's like a 25% chance times a 25% chance, like a 1 in 16 chance. That's nuts. But let's see now what Thunder does on the Kingdra. It is a 1-hit KO. So we do manage to beat Clair on minimum battles. It took a few attempts, really not crazy number of attempts though, but that does kind of inform us that when we get here with a normal Pikachu without the Light Ball, we're really going to be having to go for some double team strats if we're going to get through that one. And of course, the Paralyzed Cure Berry will be super important there as well. Still, we will take the win, so we can come now into the Dragon's Den where we're just going to destroy this guy with his Dragonair. Since it doesn't even know any good moves, he just tried to wrap us, and we already know on this channel we're never using wrap again. And our Pikachu is just going to surf over whirlpools and make our way straight to the Sages, but we will get the max elixirs first so that we have PP restoration, because we don't want to run out of PP in our best moves when we're up against the Elite Four. So now these old guys are going to tell Clair that she can't disrespect our Light Ball Pikachu. Give us that badge, yes. The old guys know that the Light Ball Pikachu is the most legit Pikachu. And with that, we have made it through 8 gyms on minimum battles here. It's now just time to make our way out into the world and try to take on the league. Now I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping to get some items before we go, now that we can use Waterfall outside of battle. I do not yet know by heart where all these items are, for example in Mount Mortar or in the Whirl Islands, and they could theoretically be important when we get to this section in the minimum battles series, because it could be a situation where a particular item, especially a held item, could be the difference between a Pokemon progressing and not progressing. And of course, getting TMs like TM40 here also could be really, really clutch. I'll admit this is one of the spots where I'm definitely still much weaker at Gen 2 than Gen 1. Like Gen 1, I basically know where everything is in the game. Occasionally somebody tells me about something like a hidden item that I didn't know about, but most of the time I know where everything is and can simply root through the game exactly how I want to. So remembering that things like a max elixir are here in this part of the Whirl Islands are definitely things that I need to remember as I go forward, because they can make a massive difference in a solo run. Of course, the main reason we come here is for the rare candy, but still, the more I can know about where exactly specific items are, the easier it will be later on to come back and do challenges in the future. But now it's time to just make our way to the Elite Four, and we've got to dodge a couple trainers on this route, especially the spinner just after you come out from going through the waterfall here. But after that, we should be able to just get through to the Elite Four on minimum battles without too much difficulty. So here we just have to fight this one trainer with a Rapidash, against whom I think Surf is more than enough. It gets a very easy one-hit KO as we get to level 45, and now it's on to rival number 5. And we just have to see if we can manage to get through him. We've managed to get through all the rivals so far without any major issues, so this could be just fine. It could be a situation where we're just going to completely destroy him. I just honestly don't know. I never pre-test these or pre-route these or run damage calculations or anything like that. There's a lot of spots where people criticize like, oh, you used the wrong move. It's because I honestly just don't know which one is actually better in the moment. Like, I can approximate based on my experience so far in the game, but you know, in some cases I'm right, in some cases I'm wrong. So here, let's just test this out against the rival in our first attempt, where he's going to lead off with his Sneasel in this one. I'm just going Thunderbolt. It gets an easy one-hit KO. Out next is the Magneton. We will switch to Surf, which one-shots that Pokemon. Haunter is out next. Thunderbolt, because I want to avoid the curse if at all possible. We do manage to get through with one hit there. Out comes the Kadabra. Technically a Pokemon with really good special defense. Normally we would want to use physical moves here, but Thunderbolt does the trick. So as Meganium comes out, we're just going to stick with Thunderbolt. It does about a third. He goes Body Slam. We do about another third. He paralyzes us this time, and we go down to a critical hit Body Slam at the end. If not for the paralysis, we would have won there. So this is clearly a winnable fight with our Pikachu, as long as we don't get bad luck. So let's just try this one again. This time he goes Poison Powder on us, and when he does that, I think we've just won, because he can no longer paralyze us, and that means that we just take him down in 3 hits, and the final Golbat can do absolutely nothing as we just destroy it with a Thunderbolt. So good job, rival. You actually did beat us once. You just weren't quite enough to take us down on the second attempt there. It's kind of interesting to see a situation where the rival has to play perfectly, otherwise he will lose. But with that done, we are now about ready to get into the league, so I'm going to deposit all of my Pokemon. I'm going to pick up some full restores because we've got just massive amounts of money. We can clearly see that if we sell all the items, I'm pretty sure we will be able to get to the point of having Thunder via TM if we really want to. But for now, we've got tons of TMs in the bag. Most of them aren't that useful, but we do have Defense Curl, Rollout, Rest strats if we absolutely need to go YOLO. But for now, let's just get into the league and see if we can win, starting with Willy Boy. So Big Willy is going to lead off with his Xatu. We go Thunderbolt. That's an easy one-hit KO. I'm not worried about that Pokemon. Jinx comes out next. Thunderbolt, I think, is the only play here. It's a 2-hitter as we get hit by Psychic, and a critical hit just one-shots us. So yeah, this is where the game, I think, actually starts to get challenging. It will be interesting to see, though. Maybe Jinx goes down to a Thunder. So I'm going to test that out. We go Thunder this time, and we do get the one-hit KO. Exeggutor comes out next. I don't think anything's going to get a great range here, but I think with Thunder, this is a 2-hitter, and it is. We take it down in 2 hits. That brings out Slowbro. We're just going Thunderbolt on this one. Easy one-hit KO, and we get to level 47 as the final Xatu comes out, and it can do nothing against the Thunderbolt. So we actually beat Will on the second attempt. That was not bad. That really wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it would be. Thunder is helping, though, in some clutch spots. So we've just got to keep that in mind. We're going to have to test out Thunder in some spots to see if it gives us a better range. But with that done, we are ready to get to Koga. And here against Koga, he leads off with Ariados. I think Thunderbolt is the play. It's an easy one-hitter. Forretress comes out. This is a Pokemon that's a little tough, but I think Surf is the way to go. We get an easy 2-hitter on that Pokemon without it going Explosion. That's all we really want. The Venomoth is clearly a flying type, so we're going to go Thunderbolt here. Get a one-hitter even without it being super effective. Surf. The Muck comes out and gets one-shot by a crit, so that might have been a situation where the crit mattered, and then Golbat gets completely destroyed. So Koga goes down on the first attempt with no issues for our Light Ball Pikachu. So that brings us to Bruno. Let's see if Pikachu just completely destroys Bruno here. So first up, he's got the Hitmontop. We go Thunderbolt. It is not a one-hitter, but he gets paralyzed, so we knock him out on the next turn. Onix is out next. Obviously, we've got Surf for this Pokemon, so it's just an easy one-hitter no matter what. For the Hitmons, who knows? Thunder might actually be the play, but I'm going to go Thunderbolt first. We missed the range to get a one-hit KO here, so we'll just Surf that one down. That means Hitmonchan's going to be more survivable. I'm going to go for Thunder here, and we just couldn't land it in between those Mach Punches. Let's try this one again. I'm honestly thinking that Thunder YOLO strats might be the way to go. When we get Dig against us from Hitmontop, though, I think we just have to go double team. We do knock it out with a single Thunder, though. Onix is still going to go down in a single hit. Hitmonlee might be a range with Thunderbolt, but Thunder is a guaranteed one-hitter there. We go back to Thunder here on the Hitmonchan. That is a one-hit KO. That brings out the Machamp. I'm going to go Thunder because I'm on low HP. We do not get the one-hitter, but it misses the cross chop because we used that double team earlier on, and then two Thunderbolts ends that Pokemon when he heals. So one reset there on Bruno, which I mean is more respectable than a typical Bruno, but you know, here in Gen 2 he is actually a little bit better. Still, Fat Pikachu is moving on to Karen on minimum battles. This is nuts. All right, Karen, she could easily end our run, especially with that Gengar. We might need the Thunder again on the Gengar in order to make this work, but let's get into it and find out. So honestly, I think the best strategy is probably to set up double team on the first Umbreon, just given the fact that this Pokemon doesn't have any strong damaging moves. But I'm going to try to go all in on attack in this first attempt just to see. We do just over half with Thunderbolt, so that's a 2-hit KO. Vileplume comes out next. We miss our first Thunderbolt as it misses a Stun Spore. It misses Stun Spore again. This is a 3-hit KO on the Vileplume, and it does really good damage with that Petal Dance. Still, we do get through. We're 2 Gengar. We hit Thunderbolt, and it's not quite a one-hitter. Thunder will be a one-hit KO there, though. We get the chance to learn Light Screen, but again, I don't think this move is really useful for us, so I'm going to skip it. We're going to Thunderbolt on the Houndoom. This is a 2-hit KO, and Flamethrower ends us. So we can see some things there. Like, there are some ranges going on, but I still think the best strategy is probably to go all in on the double team here. We probably should have gone Surf on the Houndoom. That was just a mistake on my part. But even then, like, we would have needed a fair amount of luck to get through on that one. And here, because this is Gen 2, we can't dodge anything, even with 6 double teams on, so we actually get taken down by the Umbreon. Bad luck, but it is what it is. Oh wait, but is Feint Attack one of those moves that can never miss? That might be the reason why we're getting such bad ranges here. So instead, I'm just going to go Thunderbolt, and we may just get damaged here, but that's perfectly fine. The Vileplume is where I will set up my double teams, just because, yes, it can hit Stun Spore, but we're hoping that it misses a bunch of times. We get knocked out in this attempt, but now I think I know the strategy. So we're basically hoping for a Sand Attack miss, which is a 25% chance, but we still get through there with no issues on that first Pokemon. And then we're just hoping for better luck here against the Vileplume. So this time we get Confuse Ray instead, so we have no accuracy drops. In this case, I'm just going to go all in on attack, I think. We get a 2-hit range there on that Vileplume. The problem is we're slower than Gengar, so nothing to do here but just go Thunder. We do knock that Pokemon out. Again, I won't learn Light Screen. On Houndoom this time, we're going to go Surf if we get the chance, but Flamethrower just does too much when we're paralyzed. This time we paralyze the Umbreon, which is very nice. We could technically paralyze things like this Vileplume in order to get through. We just don't get the luck there. I think we have to reset anytime we get paralyzed against that Pokemon. This time we get a nice paralysis on Vileplume, and we get to knock it out 2 turns later. It never damaged us, never paralyzed us. Now on the Gengar, I'm going Thunder, and that is a 1-hit KO as we get to level 50. We're going to the Houndoom on full health without paralysis. We can go Surf on this Pokemon and get the 1-hit KO. That brings out the final Murkrow, where Thunderbolt will end it. So it's not consistent by any means there on Karen, but it is possible to get through her. We're only on 22 resets on the full run so far. So I consider that to be a victory as we come into the Lance fight. And here all of his Pokemon are technically flying types, so everyone is going to be at least neutrally affected by our moves. The problem is that those Hyper Beams might be too much. We'll just have to see. So Lance attempt number 1. First up on Lancey Boy, we've got the Gyarados. I think we know that this Pokemon's going to be just fine, but I do think this might be a spot to set up the double teams. I'm going to try to go all in on attack first though. Thunderbolt, of course, will one-shot against the Gyarados. First Dragonite comes out. Let's just see what the range with Thunderbolt is. It's a 2-hitter. He gets paralyzed. We just barely survive from the Hyper Beam though, so this is not looking great as we get to level 51. I'm going to go Thunder on the second Dragonite. It's still not a one-hit KO, so we're going to need better luck than that. And honestly, I think this all comes down to dodging some of those Hyper Beams, and that's why I'm going for the double team here. We also get the Rain Dance from the Gyarados. So now if Gyarados misses there, we could be in a situation where we can guarantee hitting with Thunder, and that could be the difference in getting through this one. So I am going to go double team, hoping that it Rain Dances, and then let's just go Thunder on the Gyarados to knock it out. We'll stick with Thunder here on this Dragonite since we know that it's going to hit. We survive here, of course, against the first Hyper Beam, and here we can go Thunder on the second Dragonite. It hits the Hyper Beam though. Probably when we get Hyper Beamed, we should take a turn to set up another double team. So here, once again, we get Rain Danced. We will simply knock out that Gyarados. Thunder on the first Dragonite. Hyper Beam comes in, so we'll set up double team after that just because it has to recharge and then knock it out with a Thunderbolt. Third Dragonite, the rain stops, so we'll go back to Thunderbolt here, and we still get hit by the Hyper Beam. Hyper Beam just isn't perfectly accurate, which is why I'm going for this strategy. Here we get a nice Surf miss, then we get a Hyper Beam, but that gives us another turn to set up another double team, and then we can just knock this Gyarados out nice and easy. Obviously, we have no way to recover HP in this battle, so we need misses. Twister does not miss, and we simply go down. Now, of course, critical hits could get us through, as well as paralysis luck could get us through. So we're just kind of hoping for one of those two things to come in. When we get to Charizard and Aerodactyl, I think we just destroy those Pokemon. So it's really just about the 3 Dragonites. If we ever get a run where we get through all 3 of them, we're basically good to go. Here we get a nice Hyper Beam miss from this Dragonite, so we knock it out. That brings out the final level 50 Dragonite. It's the first time we've seen this one. I went for Thunder, which was a mistake. The rain had already stopped, and then Outrage just ended us anyway. Next attempt, we get back to that third Dragonite though, so I'm gonna go Thunderbolt here. We paralyze it, it misses Outrage, so we knock it out. That's gonna bring out the Charizard. We go Thunderbolt, it's super effective, so it's a one-hit KO. Aerodactyl also is slower and gets one shot, so we actually managed to beat Champion Lance on minimal battles with Light Ball Pikachu. That was ridiculous. Keep in mind, our special stat is effectively double, so actual Pikachu, when it gets here, if it gets here, is going to be a lot tougher than this. But actual Pikachu is actually going to be able to use items like Goldberry here in order to hopefully be able to get through. So yeah, it turns out that Light Ball Pikachu is kind of OP. I'm not gonna lie, I feel pretty good about this one. And now when you consider that Ash's Pikachu, which was distributed multiple times in Japan, is a Light Ball Pikachu, but in later gens where the Light Ball increases its attack and special attack, that Pokemon could be absolutely OP. And this just makes me think that maybe, just maybe, my run in Gen 1 with my Ash's Pikachu is going to be completely trivial to get through the entire game, but we'll just have to see. For now though, Fat Pikachu has completed Johto. It's time to go to Kanto and just see if we can destroy that section. I think that Red is going to be terrible, but we've got to try this out. So we will simply do the SS Aqua nice and quick here in order to progress. And let's go straight to Lieutenant Surge and just see how the Trash Man likes an actual electric mouse Pokemon. So we do have to fight one trainer in the gym. We're going to fight this gentleman because I believe he has the smallest team. And his Pikachus, I don't think stand a chance against our Pikachus. So we easily destroy the old guy Gregory, and it's time to fight against the Trash Man himself. Let's see how he likes a legendary Pikachu here. So of course he's going to lead off with his level 44 Raichu. We go Surf against it, and this is going to be a 2-hit KO. He does paralyze us and then go for Thunder. Okay, so not really off to a great start, and now he's using Double Team like an absolute troll, and he explodes on our Pikachu. So we actually lose the first attempt against the Trash Man. That's kind of embarrassing, but let's try this one again. This time he just goes Thunder, but he still paralyzes us. So I think we're losing this attempt as well. We might have to come back to the Trash Man later since we don't actually have great moves for him. Still, we do get through the Electrode this time. We've made it to the Magneton, which is also double teaming because he knows that this is the only way he's gonna win. Second Electrode comes out and we one-shot that Pokemon. We've gotten to level 53 as the Electabuzz comes out. It goes Light Screen, which is actually really good strategy. So it's gonna be a 3-hitter with the Surf, and then we were fully paralyzed, allowing him to knock us out. So this fight would be winnable with enough resets, but we're not going to sit here and reset forever. Let's just go get some of these easier trainers out of the way, like Misty, Brock, so on and so forth, because then we can progress, I think, much easier. I'm also going to avoid Sabrina for now because, yet again, we don't really know how she's going to go. I think the best routing is basically to go Misty, Brock, since we have Surf on our moveset, then to Blaine, Janine, and then we can come back and take on these other gym leaders. So let's instead go ahead and get this machine part quest done. We'll just come fight this one guy with a Machamp here, which easily gets destroyed, and just make our way to that Misty fight. Now, some of y'all corrected me before that on minimum battles, we don't actually have to fight that guy because we can just come and grab the machine part right away. And then it's just as simple as coming back here to deliver it to the power plant, and we are done. So that guy can simply be skipped in this minimum battles. His XP probably doesn't make that big of a difference this late in the game, but we are staying on true minimum battles in this one. So we'll just take this chance to wake up this Snorlax right here and make our way over to Pewter City really quick. If we open up Viridian and Pewter, we'll be able to just fly later on, so it will make our routing just a little bit easier. Oh, and we ran into this guy. So I'm just gonna speed through this section once again since we didn't mean to fight that guy, and we don't want to take any optional battles in this one. Like, it shows 11 optional battles over there, but that is clearly incorrect. We have not taken any. That is just an error in the overlay that will get fixed eventually. I've mentioned before, I am in the midst of an overlay update as we speak, so it's just a matter of when I actually have time to finish it. The issue right now is, of course, I just think to myself, which would the audience prefer? To have the overlay be fixed in counting the number of battles, or to have videos come out? And for now, I think the answer is to have videos come out. That's just my opinion. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. I think that Pokemon WWW411 Mark II, as a channel member, will say, fix the darn overlay already. He's been harping on it. He's been telling me about mistakes in the overlay for months that I have not yet fixed. Sorry, really sorry, but also kind of not sorry, because if I took the time to fix everything, I would have released like half as many videos last year. So we'll probably fix certain things as the minimum battles series progresses, when I can just fix one thing at a time. That will be kind of the ideal. So unfortunately, this bug catcher here with the Beedrills, he's another one of these spinners that's like a fixed pace spinner, so you can't actually make it so that he never looks at you with the patch. It is what it is. Still, we will manage to get through just fine this time. And I'm just going to come and fight against Brock because his rock water Pokemon do not resist electric moves, so we should be just fine to get through them. And Surf should pretty much destroy everything else in this part of the game. So let's just see. Brocky Boy attempt number 1. We are going to just go Surf on his Graveler. That's going to be nice and easy. He sends out Rhyhorn, which gets more of the same action. His Onix, also weak to water, so that's going to go down nice and easy. Kabutops comes out. Let's just go Thunderbolt and get the easy one-hitter there. Amistar gets completely destroyed as well. So Brocky Boy never stood a chance as we defeat him and get our Boulder Badge. So now let's just make our way over to Viridian, just so that yet again we can get through to this section nice and quick and easy. And we'll go to Pallet Town as well. And I think we're just going down to Cinnabar Island, or what's left of Cinnabar Island, to fight against Blaney Boy and just give him some disrespect with our Pikachu. So Blue's even gonna run away in terror because of the fact that we have have our legendary Pikachu here. He's got PTSD from Gen 1, and that brings us to Blaney Boy. Let's see how he actually goes. So of course he leads off with the Mag Cargo, which is 4 times weak to Surf, so that's going to be an easy one-hit KO victory. Out comes the Magmar. It's only 2 times weak to Surf, but still goes down nice and easy. We get to level 54's Rapidash comes out, and Rapidash yet again stood no chance against our fat Pikachu, so we completely destroy him on the first attempt, and we're ready to move on to Fuchsia City, where honestly I think we're just going to destroy Janine. Let's just get in here and stunt on her for a nice minute. We did lose to Janine once in a previous run with the frustration, I think it was. So yeah, she could go 2 for 2 here. We'll just have to see. So Janine attempt number 1, she leads off with Crobat. We go Thunderbolt and just destroy it. Next, she's got the Weezing. I don't think we need to respect this Pokemon either. We just destroy it as well. Weezing number 2, because if the first one didn't work, clearly the second one will. Ariados never stood a chance. And finally Venomoth, flying type, so clearly Thunderbolt is the play. It completely destroys her. That's why she was holding it for her last Pokemon. She didn't want it to get electrocuted, knowing that it's flying type. But with Janine done, now let's go back and take on Misty. We're basically saving Erica for last because she's the one that we don't have any moves against. And there are a bunch of trainers that we have to fight here just to get to Misty. So who knows, we might gain another level or 2 here. So we can break up Misty's date with our Pikachu, and she's going to get angry and challenge us to come fight her. And the biggest thing we've got to worry about here, I think, is the Quagsire. Just because we're not going to be able to use electric moves there, but I think everything else we pretty much just Thunderbolt and win. So let's see how this actually goes. So attempt number 1 against Misty, she leads off with Golduck, which is obviously going down in 1 hit. Quagsire is out next. I'm going to go for Surf, and we get the 1-hit KO with a crit there. Very nice. Thunderbolt now on the Lapras is a 1-hitter, and Starmie gets some disrespect right there from our Pikachu. Easy victory against Misty, and we are ready to move on. Granted, I would have expected her to be very easy, but still, that's nice to verify that she is in fact not a hard trainer given our moveset. Now that I've gained a few levels, I'm going to come back and try Lieutenant Surge again, and let's just see how he goes. Otherwise, we have to go take on Sabrina and then eventually take on Erica, and I think Blue's going to be fairly difficult, so I'm actually putting him off until later because he does have that Exeggutor on his team. I think we've got answers for everything else, but the Exeggutor is kind of scary. So back here against Lieutenant Surge and his Raichu, we go Surf. This time we do 1-hit KO that Pokemon, and after that I think this is just a foregone conclusion. We one-shot the first Electrode. Magneton isn't going to stand a chance here. The Electrode number 2 comes out and just gets destroyed, and that brings us to the Electabuzz, which we nearly beat before, but now this is an easy 2-hit KO. He goes Light Screen, doesn't matter, I don't think, but he heals up. So I went for Thunderbolt just thinking I would knock it out on the next turn. Still, his Thunder doesn't do that much, so we just destroy that Pokemon and easily get through Lieutenant Surge. So it turns out you just need to put off Lieutenant Surge a little bit and go fight some other trainers, but then he's really not that bad. So now I'm going to try to take on Sabrina. Since she doesn't have any resistance to any of our moves, she might still be harder technically than Erica, but we'll just have to see. So Sabrina attempt number 1, she leads off with her Espeon. We're going to go Thunderbolt, and this is a 1-hitter right there. Out comes the Mr. Mime. We give it more of the same disrespect, and Alakazam Thunderbolt is a 1-hit KO, so we get through and get to level 58, still on minimum battles through Sabrina. So now I do think that Erica will be easier than Blue, so I'm going to pop over here to Celadon City. We've got a bunch of PP ups that we can throw into our moves if we really need to, but I just honestly don't think we need any PP ups at this point. So let's just get into the gym. Now I forget which one of these next 2 trainers has the Exeggutor on their team, so I'm going to save right here because one of them has 1 Pokemon, one of them has multiples. We want to fight the one that has the 1 Exeggutor, which is not this trainer. Sure enough, it's this girl over here. It's because when they're at similar levels, you're always going to get less experience from 1 Pokemon than 3 Pokemon, and we actually just one-shot the Exeggutor there, so it wasn't even hard. Now we get to this last trainer before Erica, who's got a Paras right here, an Execute, which we can just completely destroy with Thunderbolt, and Parasect, level 35, but it still goes down to the Thunderbolt with no issues. So here I'm just going to recover PP and let's get into the Erica fight. So Erica attempt number 1, she's got Tangela out first. We go Thunderbolt and we get the one-hit KO even though it's resisted. Jump Bluff is neutrally affected, so it's just going to go down easily. Victory Bell is out next. Thunderbolt is not quite enough. We get hit by a Razor Leaf, but it didn't do that much. She does heal, but she's still going down in one more turn. And Blossom comes out. We hit the Thunderbolt. It goes Sunny Day, and we just destroy it from there. So easy victory against Erica, though 2 of her Pokemon did survive, so there is that. But still, we have progressed through 7 of the gyms. Now it's just time to go and take on Blue and see if we can manage to sweep the Kanto gyms on minimum battles. And then if we do, we've only got Red left in front of us. We're going to definitely have to rare candy there. We're going to be under leveled compared to his Pikachu. So that could be a really tough fight. First things first though, we've got Blue. Let's just see if we can beat him. He's going to lead off with a Pidgeot, which is obviously just a Thunderbolt spot. He gets a critical hit. Quick attack did that much damage. Are you kidding me? Rhydon comes out next. Obviously we can just surf on this Pokemon and it goes down in a single hit. Alakazam is out next. We're going to go Thunderbolt and get the one-hit KO. We get to level 60 as Exeggutor comes out. We have nothing better than Thunderbolt. It takes in Sunlight. Based on this range, I'm going to try to go for Thunder and see if I can get the 2-hitter there. We missed, so we didn't get to see the range, but let's try this one again. Now, it's worth noting we are faster than the Giga Chad Pidgeot, so as long as it doesn't go Quick Attack, we one-shot that Pokemon every time. That gets us through to the Rhydon on full health, so we one-shot that one again with the Surf. Alakazam, we can go for the Thunderbolt, which is still going to get a one-hit KO. Exeggutor, I'm going to go Thunder here just to see what kind of range we get. So Thunder does over half. So Thunder, if we hit 2 in a row, will be enough to get through that Pokemon. And I think that's all we actually need then to win in this battle. So here we'll simply Surf again on the Rhydon and Thunderbolt again on the Alakazam. And we're just hoping for some luck on this Exeggutor with our Thunder ranges. A crit also could do the job here, but if we get hit by Solar Beam, we're just dead. So this time we hit the Thunder. Let's see if Thunderbolt is enough. It is. So 1 Thunder, 1 Thunderbolt does the job. We get to the Arcanine where we can use Surf. That is a one-hit KO, and Gyarados doesn't stand a chance against the Thunderbolt. So we actually managed to beat Blue on minimum battles. We're up to level 60. That means we're going to get to level 70 with our rare candies. Still weaker than Red's Pikachu, but we at least have a chance to beat the game on minimum battles. And we might just be going crazy double team strats here. I'm honestly not sure, but I think we're reaching the point where if anything actually hits us with a damage dealing move, we will simply lose as long as they're using like a strong move. So we're kind of hoping that that Pikachu just wants to go Charm against us or something like that, so that we can then just set up a bunch of double teams, not caring about the Charm because we're not using physical moves. Reflect also won't really matter from the Espeon, so if we can get something like Reflect there, we'll be feeling pretty good. And then it's just a matter of ranges on everything else and possibly evasion strat luck. So yeah, I mean, we can go full on like Shuckle strats, Whooper strats, and go for the rollout plus double team plus rest plus defense curl here if we really want to, which could be super trolly. But of course we can't go for the leftovers, which is why that strategy is not really that great. Really, the whole Shuckle strategy is more about healing up every turn as well, so that your opponents can't actually KO you. But hey, you know, we've got options. We've got items, TMs still in the bag if we need them. So it's time for Red. I'm not going to hold off. I'm going to slam all 10 of these rare candies on my fat Pikachu to make him as powerful as possible. And we're just going to see if we can manage the win against the ultimate trainer in Gen 2. So here we are, level 70 Pikachu versus Red. Let's go. So first up, this first attempt, I'm just going to try to attack. We're actually faster than his Pikachu due to stat experience. He goes for Charm, which is perfectly fine with us. We're simply going to destroy him on the next hit. Out comes the Espeon, which we are also faster than. We paralyze it with a Thunderbolt, so we knock it out on the next turn. That brings out the Snorlax, which we're just going to go Thunderbolt on. We paralyze this Pokemon. It's fully paralyzed. paralyzed, and this is going to be a 3-hitter with Thunderbolt, but he never hits us, so we actually managed to get through. Venusaur's out next, and here is where we're probably going to run into a wall. This is looking like a 4-hit KO, and Solar Beam just destroys us. So I think we're going to have to set up the double team and just hope that we can manage to get through with that. So on the Pikachu, I'm not going to waste any time. I'm just going to go all in on the double teams right here. Of course, if he paralyzes me with Thunder, I think that might also be game over. And it looks like we're just like a 2 or 3 hit range from Thunder. Still, I think this is our only chance of getting through. So this is what I'm going to go for. So here we have set up 6 double teams. We can now go Surf on the Pikachu and we get the 1-hit KO there. Espeon is out next. We go for Thunderbolt. It misses, so we get to just knock it out the next turn. Now that we know the Snorlax is a multi-hit range, I'm going to go for Thunder here just to see. His special defense went up because he used Amnesia. Still, we managed to paralyze there. He manages to hit us with a Body Slam though, which did massive damage. Still, we do knock that Pokemon out. We've made it to the Venusaur. It gets paralyzed as it takes in sunlight. We just need a miss here. We did not get the miss, but if we could have gotten the miss, we would have had a chance to actually win that one. So this time we're paralyzed, but again with all the double teams set up, and we get a 1-hitter there on that Espeon, and then Body Slam from Snorlax will just always be too much. So we're going to need a very specific set of luck here. I still think this fight is possible. It's just going to be very luck based. There are also spots where I think Thunder is the better play since it has a higher chance of paralyzing your opponents. I just think that it may give us a better chance of getting that paralysis and therefore getting a free turn somewhere in order to get through this fight. So we're to the Venusaur this time on full health. I only have 1 Thunder left because we were kind of getting stalled out by that Snorlax, but we do paralyze Venusaur and we just need it to not be able to move for 1 turn. Come on. Or give us a crit because that would have knocked this Venusaur out as well. The whole point is that after we get through that Venusaur, I think we have a guaranteed win because what are Charizard and Blastoise going to do against our strong electric moves? So back to Venusaur again. It misses Solar Beam once this time. It goes for the second Solar Beam though. We're just missing. It misses 2 Solar Beams, misses a 3rd Solar Beam, and now I think we've got the win. We take it down. Blastoise comes out. We go Thunderbolt and get the 1-hit KO, and that brings out the final Charizard, Thunderbolt, and that does it. Fat Pikachu at level 71 manages to beat Red on minimum battles. Was it pretty at the end? No, that was very, very luck-based, but there was an actual strategy. We could get to Venusaur pretty reasonably, and it was just a matter of needing either to paralyze that Venusaur and get some turns that way, or get some misses via the Solar Beam. It's a 3-hit KO when you get there with the Thunder with this Pokemon. Like, we could argue for having gone for other moves, like Return, maybe he's trying to set up Rollout. Like, certainly there are other strategies available, but in the end, this was enough to get through the entire game on minimum battles with a Pikachu. Other strategies like Defense Curl Rollout, maybe some Rain Dance, Thunder strats, etc. we'll experiment with later when we come back with an actual Pikachu in the minimum battles series. But for now, Light Ball Pikachu is kind of OP, honestly, considering that this Pokemon is 206th in base stat total in Gen 2, and we basically just went electric and water moves the entire game, even against things like Exegutors, even against Lance, even against Clair. We were able to find ways to get through those fights, and the ranges weren't that crazy. It was just, oh, we just need to not get this hit right here. Oh, we just need to set up a couple double teams here. Like, that was nuts. That was nuts. Like, I understand people hate double team, and if I just had 6 double teams every single battle, I would get it. But the only fight where we were like, oh, we got to set up like 6 double teams to get through this one was basically Red at the end. Everything else, it was not really that big of a factor. Like Lance, we were only getting a couple, and we were just looking for certain misses or paralysis to get through, or crits to get through, because we could have just crit the Dragonites. So there were multiple ways to get through those Pokemon. The only Pokemon I see in this entire run that it was like, we've got to be able to dodge multiple hits, was that Venusaur at the end. And in the end, we get it to go. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. And if you did, there's going to be possibly coming out before this a version of Ash's Pikachu over on RBY Pokemon Challenges that's going to be even more overpowered, based on not just the later gen Light Ball, but also based on the Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee partner Pokemon, which I think has closer stats to the actual Pikachu that Ash had. Just my opinion. And with that, it could be completely overpowered, especially when you consider that Special is only one stat in Gen 1, and Chansey Rule, I'm using the higher of the two special stats for that, which means it's going to be completely broken. Anyway, check that one out if you're interested. If not, I just appreciate you for being here. See you in the next one. Later.